from Charlie Hunnam,
No.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill is a man at a time. If this was the 80s or the 90s, a guy like him would be a massive action movie star. Now, modern day Hollywood has seemed to take a step back from men like him and movies like those. Now, being a child of the 80s myself and a fan of action movies, I've always loved Cavill. And while he has been in some successful films, he has not become the superstar that I thought he would be. So late last year, I began to hear about a film called The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, a Guy Ritchie film based off a true story of secret agents in the Second World War starring Henry Cavill. Wow, Guy Ritchie? World War II? Spies? Henry Cavill? Why, it's like somebody read my mind and put together a movie with things I love. So this past weekend, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare was released in the theaters. So what do we have here? Is this finally the movie that puts Cavill over the top and establishes him as an action star? Or is it another misstep in an otherwise snake-bitten career? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot for The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Let's talk.
So this is based off the novel Churchill's Secret Warriors, the explosive true story of the Special Forces of World War II. And here we find ourselves in late 1941 at the height of the Second World War. The United Kingdom is struggling to halt Nazi Germany's attempt to take over Europe, with London regularly suffering bombing runs at the hands of the Luftwaffe, and with their supplies and aid constantly being sunk by German submarines. Brigadier Colin Gubbins, with the indirect backing of Prime Minister Winston Churchill, prepares to initiate Operation Postmaster, an off-the-books Black Ops sabotage mission intended to disrupt the Nazi U-boat campaign. Now, they intend to do this by disrupting the resupply of the U-boats. Now, the resupply is coming out of a Spanish-controlled island named Fernando Po. So, SOE agents Marjorie Stewart and Richard Herron depart by train, heading to this area. Meanwhile, Gubbins enlists Gus March Phillips to assemble a team of men who don't mind bending the rules and getting their hands dirty. Their mission? To destroy the Italian resupply ship and the two tugboats that are assisting with the Nazi resupply effort. Gus March Phillips is, he's a military man, but he's gotten in some trouble. He's in a military prison. They give him the offer to assemble a team of like-minded individuals.
Number one, assemble your team.
So let's start with what works in this film. What works here is what works in your good Guy Ritchie films. It's well written. It's well shot. Your characters, both male and female, are competent, tough, and confident. Man, do we get that here with every character. Henry Cavill, who plays Phillips, is perfectly cast in the role. He's old school British through and through. Prim and proper, well-spoken, articulate, supremely confident, yet incredibly devious, and adept at violence at the drop of the hat. Also, shout out to Alan Ritchson from the Reacher series. He plays Anders Layson, one of the men recruited for the mission. He is the wild card here. You never know what you're going to get from him or what he's capable of. His fight scenes are ultra violent, and the massive Ritchson plays him with ease. He really steals the scenes he's in. I also loved Isa Gonzalez. She plays Marjorie Stewart. She plays what I like to call a great Ritchie girl. Much like a Bond girl, but in a Guy Ritchie movie. To me, Ritchie girl, they're supremely confident, they're sexy, they're well written, they use their sexuality as a weapon without it being overt. But she's not written as a girl boss who overshadows her male counterparts. She's just part of the team here, and an incredibly important and useful part of the team. She uses what she has to get what she wants. Your action scenes, they're well shot, well choreographed. The set pieces look authentic for the period. And despite its 2-hour runtime, it never really feels slow. The movie keeps moving along at a good pace. Now, in the negatives, that's really not that much. Some of the violence is a little cartoonish and over the top, and it really doesn't break any new ground here. Like, we've seen this Dirty Dozen type of film hundreds of times throughout the years. But, you know what? That's okay. I'm not saying this is a perfect movie or one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, but it's probably the most fun I've had in the theaters this year. Time will tell whether it's the vehicle that puts Cavill over the top. But even if it doesn't make a ton of money, it does show that in the right role, Henry Cavill can be a leading man, especially in an action movie. I'm hoping that this is a successful movie, though, and it leads to more roles for him. So, fully embracing his signature slick visual style and action-packed storytelling with sly wit, Guy Ritchie has made a World War II movie that's lively and refreshing, even if it's not very original. I would suggest seeing this in the theaters. It's a lot of fun, and I think you could appreciate some of the effects a little bit better. Plus, I'm rooting for this to be a success, so go spend some money on it. Especially since it clicked so many of my personal favorite boxes.
That was fun.
Well, that's it for me this week. Tune in next week when I give you my opinion on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video with friends and enemies alike. And as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week. Take care.